Hi girls, this is Coach Randy again. Wanted to go through some defensive strategies that we're going to talk about in practices and start using in games. The goal with defensive strategies is to either give additional protection to, say, if we have a player that's not passing as well. We don't want the opposite team or our opponent to be attacking a particular player just because if they maybe aren't having a good day passing, or they're having a hard time handling the serves that the server is sending over on serve receive. So what we will often do, we will rotate positions, players on the court to give additional protection or additional coverage in the back row for defensive. So as you recall, in our positioning here, this is the 1 position, this is the 2, this is the 3, 4, 5, and 6. When we rotate in from the sideline, you rotate into middle back into the 6th position, and then we rotate through in a clockwise fashion until we get to the 1 position, and that's our service position, right? So in defensive strategies, our back row, these 3 players, the player that's in the 1, 6, and 5 position, are going to be the ones receiving the ball. We typically don't want our front row players participating in serve receive or in passing activities other than playing offense. So this really should be our offensive players, and these should be our defensive players. Now, what happens sometimes is a server, and this is the net up here at the top, is sending the ball over, and they might be sending it over and serving to the 6th position. And we may have a person, one of our teammates, that's having a tough day, or it's not passing very well. So we have some options of how we can adjust the defense to help give some protection for this particular user, this particular player. So what you'll hear me tell you is, I'll tell you to move up or to slide back or slide over. We have that ability to move around on the court. So, and as an example, we could push the 6th player up to the net right behind the 3 player. So the key is you have to stay behind the player in front of you and then to the left and right of the players next to you. So pushing up behind, as long as the number 6 player is behind the number 3 player, is perfectly fine. What we can do is we can then rotate the 1 player over to the center spot, staying just to the right of wherever the 6th player is, and then drop the number 2 player back. This would give us the 1 player here, this would give us the 2 player here, and now the 6th player is taken out of the play, not having to pass the ball. So sometimes I will make an adjustment like that in game to be able to give some protection, because we don't want 1 player to be picked on constantly in serve receive or in games, that sort of thing. So we'll make those kind of adjustments like that. Some other adjustments that we can make as well. Try to draw these out here. Some other adjustments that we can do is we can actually drop a player back. So we may have a player here that's not doing as well, and so we drop the player back into the corner, and then I bring back the number 2 player here. As long as the 2 player is to the right of these players here, of their number 3, and in front of the 1 player, which would be moved back here, I now have 3 passers in the back row for defensive purposes, and I've allowed the 1 player that was there originally to kind of set off to the side while we get through this point or through this rotation. So those are some protective measures that we will take on the defensive side of the court to help during games. Because like I said, we don't want 1 person getting picked on regularly as we're playing teams that are good, because we are going to play some teams that are very good and they can point or pinpoint their serves to a specific spot, and we obviously want to adjust for that. So that's pretty much really what I wanted to tell you, is just give you some idea of some of the adjustments we might talk about and make, and if I draw it up you can kind of understand why we're doing that. And as we're in games, we can kind of understand, if I tell you to move back, if I tell the two player to move back and I tell the one player to move to the corner, that's what we're doing, is we're making an adjustment, trying to do some protective measures to be able to help get through that rotation and then move on, get the point, and then move on. All right, so we will talk more about this in practice and use this in games, and I will see you guys all later. Bye.